I'm Anna Pegels, and I would like to thank you for the opportunity of sharing some thoughts with you on the use of behavioral insights for promoting waste separation. I work at the German Development Institute, and my work since some years has focused on the circular economy, and in particular on the question of how we can use the insights that we gain from behavioral sciences for promoting the separation of waste at source. In my research, I usually cooperate with partners from practice. That could be NGOs, partners from the private sector, or also municipalities. And so far, I've worked together with partners in Argentina and in Indonesia, and the team has worked together with partners in Peru, Philippines, and Ghana. Why does it make sense from a waste management perspective to also bring the behavioral insights in? Waste management requires a system. And part of that system is infrastructure, is institutions, so the rules of the game, and are the people. We need the people to participate in the system. And often when we design that system, we focus on infrastructure, so for example, how can we finance infrastructure, and we focus on the institution. We do not think about how we can design the system so that people are incentivized to participate. And that can lead to flaws in the system. Because if people do not have the incentive to participate, for example, by separating their waste at source, then we may have contaminated recyclables. We might have a loss of materials that we could recycle because they're not disposed of properly. And we could have littering, for example. So designing the system from a behavioral perspective, from the human perspective, can be key. So we need to keep in mind that we're asking a lot from people. Yeah? When we think about waste, it's usually something that we just want to get rid of. Yeah? It can be something that smells, something unhygienic. And so usually we just want to get rid of it. Now we're asking people to put in effort, to start thinking about how they handle their waste. And that is asking a lot. So we really need to make an effort to design the system to make it as easy, as attractive for people to participate. Now, how do we do that? And I can already tell you that there's no silver bullet to that, no one-size-fits-all solution. We can learn a lot from the experiences of others, but we always have to adapt our solutions to the context that we find. However, there is a process that we can follow, that we usually use at the German Development Institute if we cooperate with our partners. That process has 4 steps. The first step is understanding, and really deeply understanding, the status quo. That involves 4 questions. The what, the who, the how, and the why. Now, I would like to run you briefly through that 4 questions in the hope that this might help you in your daily practice. Now, starting with the what. What exactly is our problem? And then often we get the answer from our partners, well, we have a separation plant for waste and what arrives there is mixed. And that's a problem because we can only recycle a fraction. And then we ask, okay, which materials exactly are causing the problem? Is it, for example, food waste? Is it garden waste? Is it animal feces? Is it hospital waste? And really drilling down in that question, it's detective work. It's actually quite fun. Really drilling down on that question leads us to the next, the who. Who causes that issue? And there again, it's not sufficient to, for example, say households. Yeah? We need to ask, is it a specific group of households that we need to target in a specific way? Who in the household do we need to target? Who takes the decision, for example, that a household starts to separate? Who then implements it? For example, let's say the wife takes the decision, but the household employee has to implement it. So, the who. And then that leads us to the how. We need to find out how exactly that person or that group of persons is currently managing their waste. We need to really understand that in detail. Because then we can see what needs to change. What do we really need from those people? We have our current behavior and we have our target behavior. And then we can see how do we get from A to B. And last but not least, we need to ask the question, why? Why are they doing what they're currently doing? And why would they do what we're asking from them? And this is the question about barriers, of course, but also motivations. So how can we create a new system that makes the new behavior more attractive and more feasible, maybe, than the old behavior? Okay, so all of that is step number one. In all of these questions, we need to prioritize. What is our most pressing issue? Who is the main group causing that issue? So in all of these steps, we can't cover it all. We need to really prioritize what is the most important issue and what can we solve most easily. So it's a kind of cost-benefit analysis that we're doing in these steps. Now then, second step. Based on the findings from these questions, based on the answers, we can start to develop a targeted intervention, targeted to the people that we need to reach, targeted to their needs. And behavioral science gives us some, let's say, general guidelines on how to design such an intervention. Having said that, it's always context dependent. There is no silver bullet, but we have some general rules. The first rule is make it simple. Make the rules simple, separating rules, for example. If we have 5 categories, it's much more complex for people than just 2. Make it convenient. If we place the containers far away, we are quite likely that nobody will use them. There's always a trade-off with costs, of course. We can't carry people to the containers, even though that would be very convenient. But make it as convenient as possible. Make it attractive. That's the second basic rule. Make it attractive. That can be in terms of money if we have that possibility, but it can also be non-monetary incentives. For example, make it fun. Introduce elements of gamification or create trust. This can be a key element, that the materials that I dispose of correctly will actually be recycled. So, make it simple, make it attractive. The third basic rule is we can try to make it social. We all want to look good in front of our peers, don't we? So we can use that in communication. We all orient our behavior towards the behavior of others, and we can use that in communication. So, adhering to these 3 basic principles, we then design our intervention, always in cooperation with the partner on the ground. This is vital. And then, the third step, we need to test our interventions. Because sometimes we can find surprising results. Sometimes things that we thought must work don't. It's good to know before we roll them out. And sometimes things that are maybe very cost-effective, but we thought probably it won't work, we tried anyways, and then we see, okay, the cost-benefit ratio is fine, we can do that. So always test, and then adapt the solutions that we found according to the results of the testing. And then fourth, but really only fourth, roll it out. Once we know we have a basis, an empirical basis for selecting the most effective intervention, then we can roll it out. And as I said, it's always really key to work together with our partners on the ground in that, because we as an institute can support the partners in asking the right questions, but we cannot give the answers. The people on the ground, the partners, but also, of course, the people that we target with our intervention, need to be involved because they can provide the answers. And I'm quite aware that following all those steps in as much detail as is possible is an investment. It's an upfront investment. But if we don't do that, we risk designing a system that is suboptimal at best, where a key part is not allowed to function or does not have the incentives to function. And once we've established such a system in a way that allows one key part not to function, it can be very challenging to change the system. So we think it's better to really think about it thoroughly beforehand than design a proper system from the start and then be relatively sure that it can function. So these are just my 2 cents. Thank you very much for listening to me and have a good day.